Hey, it's Mark with Mark Patrick Hypnosis. If you've ever said to yourself this, that I feel anxious and I don't know why, or cannot find the origin why you feel anxious, first and foremost, you're not alone. Millions of people suffer through this. In this short video, I'm going to share with you exactly why that's taking place, but more importantly, what I'm going to do is teach you a simple solution that you can apply to your life right now, today, to actually completely eliminate this from taking place. So let's get to that video.
So the number one thing everyone is so anxious about is not the coronavirus or all the rioting or all the uncertainty in the world or any particular event. The number one thing that is making you feel so anxious is not knowing why you're so anxious. So this happens to a lot of us, so you're not alone. So here's what happens. We wake up, we feel anxious. We don't know what really triggers it. So then we start wondering, why am I so anxious? There's nothing in particular taking place. And then we start to question ourselves and we start to go into that mindset of becoming anxious about being anxious, which actually makes you now doubly anxious. So you tell yourself to calm down, which we all know never works. So we get amped up even more. Then this triggers you to start to feel most likely anxiety. So now you're anxious about your anxiety, which triggers even more anxiety. And this spiral goes on over and over and over again. And what happens is they call this the feedback loop from hell. So let me explain to you what happens that gets you to this point, and more importantly, how to help with all this. First and foremost, feeling anxious and not knowing why you're anxious is a collection of what are called primary, tertiary, and quaternary associations to pain and fears that have been compounded over time. Just stay with me on this and let me give you an example. So let's say you're a child and your mom and dad are fighting and he gets very aggressive. So you don't want to see any of that or hear any of it, so you run off in your room and you start to hide. Maybe you cover your eyes and your ears and you try to fall asleep that way. The next day, what happens is you wake up, the fight's over with, but you still have a subconscious stored memory of this painful event from the night before. Now, let's say you go grocery shopping with your mom the next day, and then all of a sudden you see a man in the aisle with blue jeans and a white shirt on, which is what your dad had on the night before. You associate subconsciously this, the blue jeans and the white shirt with your father, and those things trigger an association in your brain that makes you remember that event. Now, you're not paying attention consciously to these cues, but your subconscious and your senses are. So they're sending signals and messages that there's something not right, or I don't feel comfortable with this person. This all happens in your limbic system, the emotional center of your brain. So feelings of uncertainty, fear, doubt all start to develop. The key thing is this all happens unconsciously. Then what happens is you might go out the next day and someone walks by and they're wearing blue jeans and a white shirt, but they have blonde hair and your dad had brown hair. So now that creates another level of association in your brain. Or it could be just someone talking, having the same voice or even the same laugh that your father had. So what your brain is doing is automatically creating all those neuroassociations to that original primary pain that took place. And this goes on all the time without you being aware of it. This is just one example, by the way. So what happens is over time you develop all these layers of unconscious associations that trigger emotions of pain, fear, and uncertainty in your unconscious brain. We don't know the origin of them, so we start to feel anxious or have anxiety. And this explains why you can't put your finger on the source of it. So we create the narrative, why am I so anxious? And your mind doesn't have an explanation for it. So it catastrophizes what's taking place and starts to escalate things to get your attention. Your fight or flight mechanism is looking to protect you from unwanted danger. And this is what triggers what are called panic attacks. Your fight or flight mechanism kicking in and everything gets escalated because it doesn't have an explanation for it. Does this sound familiar to you? So let me teach you how to reframe the way your mind reacts and how to create new neural pathways in your brain so you can help with this. First thing I want to teach you is fear and excitement have the same physical state in the body, and I'll explain what I mean. The only difference is this: our brain has an explanation for one taking place, that being excitement, but not the other one, fear. And let me give you an example. What happens when you're about to go on a roller coaster ride? Let's think about that for a second. Your heart starts to race, your body produces adrenaline, you might start to sweat a little bit, you have this anticipation taking place, tightness in your chest, breathing increases, you might even have a surge of cortisol kicking into your body as you're going to get on a roller coaster ride and have that experience, and your body kind of goes into this amped up, hyper aware state. Now, what happens when you experience fear or anxiety? Your heart races, your body produces adrenaline, you might start to sweat, tightening in your chest, breathing pace increases, surge of cortisol, the body gets amped up and goes into a hyper-aware state. The only difference between feeling excited and anxiety is your brain assigns a meaning to that being excited state in your body. If you're excited, your brain is going, wow, this is going to be an awesome ride, this roller coaster I'm about to get on. Your brain has no explanation for the anxious state in your body. Since it does not have an explanation for this, it freaks out, assuming this is dangerous for you. Your brain does anything it can to protect you from perceived pain or danger. It catastrophizes events in your mind to get your attention for something that it perceives as danger. It says, let's get out of here and get away from it. And that's how anxiety can escalate into a panic attack. What's critical in understanding this is we're going to use the fact that your mind is either working for you with excitement or against you with fear and anxiety to your advantage. So to break this pattern, you need to do a few simple things, which I'm going to get into, but I do want to make you aware this does take a little bit of work on your part and repetition, but I promise you this, the time you put in will be well worth it. To potentially end a lifetime of struggles with this unwanted behavior, I think it'll be well worth it. So the first thing I want to make you aware of is we want to focus on interrupting the emotional response our brain has. And the interruption technique we're going to use in this case is basically counting backwards, and it is designed to bypass the limbic system. That's the emotional center of the brain before it has a chance to go catastrophic, and that's what the counting backwards does. So simply by counting backwards, what you do is this. You awaken the prefrontal cortex part of your brain, and you're able to bypass that limbic system. I personally use 3 seconds with my clients. Mel Robbins, if you're not familiar with her, she made this technique famous in a book that she wrote called the 5-second rule. By counting backwards 5 seconds, you're able to interrupt any emotional response. By doing this, you trigger your brain that you're now in control of your thoughts. You've interrupted the anxious or fear emotions that kick in. Normally this happens within 3 to 10 seconds of information entering through your spinal cord. You settle your thoughts, and now your brain is ready for an anchor thought. An anchor thought is simply a scene that triggers the emotion of excitement or anticipated excitement in your brain. It assigns a value that makes sense to your brain. So an example could be to settle how anxious you feel when you fly. The anchor thought may be a scene where you're together with your family creating amazing memories on vacation, and now the brain switches the narrative from I feel anxious when I fly to I can't wait to be on the beach with my family, out to dinner or drinks with friends, laying in the sun doing nothing. You pretty much get how the story goes there. And because you have an image that conceptually makes sense to your brain and you assign a meaning to it, you know what your brain does? Your brain goes, cool, Mark, I'm excited to get the party started. And you switch gears in your mind and you go from fear to excitement. And because you have an image or vision that makes sense to what you're doing, your brain literally buys into it, and you just tricked your brain. And this can go for any situation that you may experience. So, since it's very difficult to pinpoint the answer to the question, why am I so anxious, due to all the levels of associations that are triggering it, the most effective way to deal with it is simply assign a value that your brain understands. So, anytime those unwanted feelings of anxiousness start to creep back into your life, you want to go out there and interrupt it by counting backwards, bypassing the limbic system, taking the prefrontal cortex and having that take control of the situation and your thoughts. You want to add an anchor thought. It could be something as simple as I'm so excited to do or see something tomorrow, but you can make up something yourself, of course. And now you create that new association in your subconscious mind. And what happens is this: through repetition, your brain unconsciously assigns a meaning and reframes those feelings of anxiousness to excitement, and you have changed your narrative. And I know this sounds ridiculously simple, but this is scientifically proven. My suggestion is this, is to not analyze the information I just gave you here, but put it to practice for the next 21 to 28 days. You will be amazed how your body will begin to respond once you've changed that narrative of yours.
Well, hopefully you got something out of the video that you could apply to your life today and start living a healthier lifestyle. In the meantime, I want to share with you a program that we have coming up shortly online. It's an End Anxiety with Hypnosis seminar online. It's very similar to the seminars we do in person each and every year, where we see about 50,000 clients a year. The only difference is this, is you're able to sit in a more comfortable chair in the most comfortable surroundings. And I believe that really has an impact on your success. So anyway, you're going to see more information on this page. If you are interested, don't wait. Please make sure you take advantage of this information. These programs do sell out all the time. Once again, thank you for watching this video.